Hier befinden sich Flüchtlinge seit dem Jahre 1956.
Refugees have been coming here since 1956, requesting political refugee status, either in Austria or in the United States or Canada, or just getting integrated right here. The system is that immigrants come here and wait for an answer, whether they are accepted or not. Until then, they are taken care of by the staff. This is how a flat looks.
Aici dormeau românii.
Nikolai Jelisch, retired Austrian citizen in Vienna, defected in 1970, passed through Czechoslovakia. Mihai Mick, dentist, Austrian citizen in Vienna, swam across the Danube at Devici in 1977. Amos Chita, music teacher, Austrian citizen in Vienna, illegally stayed in Italy in 1980. Billy Fritz, engineer, German citizen in Regensburg, crossed the border at Deta in 1981. Alexandru Chizer, worker, Austrian citizen in Vienna, illegal crossing on second attempt at Naidas in 1982. Daniel Unguranu, technician, Austrian citizen in Vienna, crossed over at Nedleg in 1987. Mihai Drinovan, pastry cook, American citizen in New York, crossed the Danube in a boat at Moldova Nua in 1983. Alambia Capitana, waiter, and daughter Sarasula, Austrian citizen in Vienna, crossed the border to Hungary in 1988. Otmar Funk, schoolteacher, German citizen in Regensburg, crossed the border at Krtici in 1989. Doru Briskan, shot dead at 19 on the frontier near Jimbolia in 1988. I tried to look as normal as possible, wearing a suit, white shirt, a tie, even an umbrella, not for keeping me dry from the Danube, but from looking like I'd just swum across the river by night. They were packed in 3 plastic bags, leaving just enough air in each so that the case floated and served as safety air as well. When we got to Germany, we had holes in our shoes, large enough to pass your finger through, just like Badia Carton, if you've ever heard. Many of them had been turned down by the embassies where they made applications. But the Yugoslav authorities did not send them back to Romania, and many crossed on illegally to Italy or Austria. 50-50, we're told. At that time, the living standard was relatively high in Yugoslavia. Most of the young people dressed in Italian and Western style. The boys had to go west, passing through large cities like Belgrade, Zagreb, Ljubljana, and look like any other Yugoslav citizen. We meant to reach Vienna on foot, but we were physically exhausted. So we went up to a small village, which, luckily or not, had no train station. We went into the local restaurant to buy cigarettes, and we were helped by the owner to get on to Vienna.
Au fost preluați în grija Înaltului Comisariat al ONU pentru Refugiați.
The UN High Council for Refugees took us over, and we were sent to various boarding places like Hotel Nacional, near the airport, or Slavia Hotel, or Thousand Roses, among others.
Hotelul Slavia, 1000 de trandafiri și altele. Padinska Skela era o semi-pușcărie, nu era lagăr.
Padinska Skela was like a kind of jail, not a refugee camp. The camp is at Triskakchen, here in Austria. There, we had food from the jail across the street, which they owned. Yugoslav prisoners were located there. That was where our meals came from, even though the UN and all these other such organizations paid a lot for the Romanian refugees.
Când am ajuns la Podinska Skela, mi-au luat hainele.
We got back to Podinska Skela, and then they took a few of the personal things we had brought along.
Haine, cenușii.
We were given gray uniforms to wear, a brief medical checkup, and directions for the dorms where we would lodge for the night.
Și am fost trimiși la diferite dormitoare.
Everything off. What they were looking for was labels, to see what our nationality was, Romanian or maybe Arab or Turkish. They searched everywhere and wrote down whatever details they'd found. Some were proven to come from Romania. We told them we were heading west and only passed across Yugoslavia at night. And the law, they said, that we should stay in prison for 20 days for illegally crossing the border, after we were free to leave for wherever.
În zona unde a fost prins și după aceea este liber și să plece în ce țară vrea el. Bine.
Am făcut semn să deschidă bariera. Imediat a reacționat la semnul meu, a deschis bariera.
When we motioned for the barrier to be lifted, we reacted and summoned from behind the barrier for me to stop. I realized I had to do so. Papiri! I knew that meant papers. I gave him all I had. I didn't know what he wanted. Then I was to follow him into an office, so next there was typing work and I signed. I never knew what, not then nor now.
Nici atunci și nici acum.
They took a picture of myself so I could see how I looked, stung by mosquitoes and prickled in needles all over.
I took pictures of myself from every angle. Then they gave me stuff for personal hygiene. I took a bath, cleaned up, and ate twice. Don't ask me why. Then I got to the dorm with Czechoslovakians. No more room there, so it had to be with the Czechs. We got out of the Court of Justice and smack into a Mercedes, handcuffs off, me and my friend in the back seat and the driver in front. So I tell my friend, now we're tied up, now hanged, now driven in a sedan. We're taken to a boarding house, given a roasted turkey leg or whatever, and 2 potatoes, and they say, essen, eat. We couldn't, as we had no bread. They watched and waited and finally said, why don't you eat? So we said, peni, peni. Didn't know to say brot. So the Serbian comes and says, give them bread. And they came up with 2 thin slices, for normal people. But we ate them before we were even halfway through with that first potato. Since we got to Cherskitski late, I slept on the floor that night, and the next day they registered us and made papers for us.
Am fost 60 de deținuți.
We were 60 prisoners in one room, and there were only 3 rooms.
Cred că 2 sau 3 camere. Majoritatea.
Most of us were Romanians.
La Podinska Skela, în perioada când am stat eu, deci,
that is, August to September, there were hundreds of Romanians.
August-septembrie erau de ordinul sutelor, numai români.
and others, like Germans from the former democratic government.
Am avut și cehi.
Czechs and Polish, many of them, but Romanians were the most.
Deci, astea erau naționalitățile care erau mai multe acolo, mai mulți. Dar românii băteau recordul, românii erau mulți.
Capacitatea lagărului din Traiskirchen era de câteva sute.
The refugee camp in Traiskirchen could lodge hundreds. It was an old military barracks, and refugees were camped in other places in Austria as well.
Alte părți din Austria. În momentul în care absolveai așa zisul interview,
After the so-called interview, more of an inquiry in fact, the Austrians love euphemisms. People went to boarding houses, especially those with families.
Absolveai acest interogatoriu, în special familiștii, erau duși în pensiuni.
Out of a total of 3,000 to 4,000 refugees, there were about 25% Romanians recorded. We waited for the interview, we passed that, and then from quarantine to transit status, and then on to our boarding houses. We waited for the interview, that part where you were on quarantine. Next we came down and stayed in transit for 1, 2, or 3 days. Afterwards we were sent to a boarding house.
Stăteai o zi, 2, 3 și te repartiza în pensioane.
Carantina era un loc de tristă amintire.
The quarantine was a sad place to remember, spending your time like a vegetable.
Singura scăpare din
The only way out was a corridor for walking to and fro.
Era coridorul carantinei unde ne plimbam.
Carantina însemna era izolat.
Quarantine meant being cut off from the rest of the camp for at least 1 week. When the interview took place,
în această perioadă de o săptămână se luau un interviu.
they asked about your political motivation for escape.
Știam din auzite de la alții că motivele pe care noi trebuie să le spunem să fie numai de domeniu politic, deci să nu fie economice, pentru că nu interesau pe cei care ne interogau.
Erau sugestii despre înclinarea în anumită direcție a motivelor.
Hints flew in the air about the reasons you had better have to be seen in a better light.
O influență mai puternică, care erau mai mult apreciate.
Eu cred că majoritatea românilor,
I believe most of the Romanians, except the politically prosecuted, defected for economic reasons, to get a better life, to buy a car, to come home for holidays, to show off. That was about it.
să arate ce au ajuns ei în Occident, cam majoritatea românilor asta și-au dorit.
Știam că am nevoie și de un motiv.
I knew I needed political motivation. Political when I was 18.
Politic la nivelul unui copil de 18 ani.
Nothing could have been seriously political at that age. So I mentioned having taken part in the 1987 political movement in Timișoara.
Micile mișcări tulburătoare ce au avut loc în perioada anului 87 în Timișoara.
Ca să obțină azilul politic.
Some lied just to get their political refugee status. They claimed prosecution, religious, political. Honestly, I don't think there'd been any after the generations imprisoned between 53 and 1960. I stretched the truth just a bit, saying I had swollen hands, feet, and knees. You had to lie a bit, or else there'd be no gain. I lied a bit about politics.
La ambasada americană s-au făcut și verificări corporale.
They body checked you at the American embassy. Our tattoos worried them.
Interesat să nu avem tatuaje. Tatuaje pe care America le are din plin.
In America, many see tattoos as a symbol of democracy, of the right to free opinion.
Dreptului de a alege pace. Însă îl vedeau un lucru negativ.
Yet, but coming from the East, it looks bad, as an expression of violence, of evil.
În perioada aceea, în Est, tatuajele se făceau mai mult ca un simbol al negativismului, al violenței, al răului.
And most of the jailbirds had tattoos.
Deținuților îl aveau.
We came to Germany to work, to integrate. That could be the stupidest thing you might have said. If you went up to them and said, I want to go to America, to China, to France, wherever, but Germany or Austria, frankly, I couldn't care less which. But that way you got your political status. Otherwise, you were only free to go on and on. Before entering the camp, the very word camp gave me shivers, sounding a bit like Auschwitz, or forced labor to exhaustion and starvation. Instead, I got surprisingly oranges, bananas, and a clean bed.
Și m-am întâlnit acolo cu banane, cu portocale și cu toate bunătățile, cu un dormitor curat.
If you talk to the Romanians there, they'll tell you how dangerous the camp is, for they know the Securitate follows them even there. In their eyes, you could have been the Securitate if you didn't like you, for being different from them, or whatever. It was a very bad thing, for everybody suspected everybody else and feared one another. You had to keep your ideas to yourself, not speak too much, stay aside. Everyone feared the long arm of Securitate. I've heard. They told me so. I wasn't there at that time. That one was caught filming and secretly interviewing the Romanian. So he got locked in a wardrobe, which they tipped over from the 4th floor. People say he died. After about 6 months in the camp, passing well the interviews for the UN, I was sent to a hotel. Belgrade was the name. It was located near the Avila. The Romanian who had no family with them and could work, they lived in the camp. They ate there and went to work and then back again. Although I lived like a lord, I couldn't work, but wanted not to say and do nothing. After such 3 months, seeing nothing else happen, I got on the bus and came back to Cherkessia. I registered there, I got a bed, and stayed on for 2.5 years. I chanced upon a job with Fort Hingerler as an auto mechanic, which they needed me to be. And when I said I couldn't speak German, they said I didn't need. Here you don't speak, you simply work. I would stay behind. There were Albanians in front of me, elbowing their way. So I got there and he says, I've got tough work for you. Take one more man as strong as yourself. So I took one more man, a Romanian, not Albanian or whatever. So from hearsay, I got to the building site, where they liked me for working so hard. The boss there asked, wouldn't you like a steady job here? I said, yes, but the only paper I have is the camp cart. Then they gave me that, and I take everything else. In Strazicki in Austria, we had complete freedom. The Austrian authorities understood us. At that time, we were free to work, free to walk, to travel, inside the country. No interdiction whatsoever. They gave me 2 pickaxes and asked, why 2 for just me? The reply was, for spare, in case you break one, you take the other. It's others that take over repairs. That was the style.
Era asigurată mâncarea,
At the hotel, you got complete boarding and yet needed pocket
Aveam
money.
nevoie doar de bani de buzunar, bani pe care îi procuram lucrând cu ziua.
Thus we got working by the way, digging or building or whatever.
Săpam, mutam.
We were alone in the village. We only had 2 boys to help us. There were so many that there wasn't room enough for everybody at the hotel.
Erau mulți.
There were so many that there wasn't enough room for everybody at the hotel.
Ca să-i repartizeze, erau mulți.
Urma ca Națiunile Unite să aranjeze.
The UN was supposed to arrange the interviews, which, if successful, would make way for you to leave right to the first country you choose to.
Persoana respectivă pleca în acea țară. Dacă era respins, urma
And,
cu,
if turned down, there had to be one more interview for the second country you mentioned.
La a doua țară pe care a ales.
Aveau ăștia dicționare. Aveau, da.
There were dictionaries in the camp. I think they were from the UN. For if you chose to leave for Australia or America, you needed to know a little English.
În Australia sau în America sau unde trebuia să știi puțin limba, că da.
Ei voiau mai mult în America sau în Australia, dar
Many wanted to leave for Australia or America, but some were accepted only in Denmark or Sweden.
America sau în Australia. Depinde unde e primit, Suedia, Danemarca și așa mai departe.
Și Ion era glumeț așa ca mine.
And Ioan was a funny man to be with. At times he so longed to speak Romanian, he had started learning English and German and Italian, and then Portuguese in the end.
Și italiana, și la urmă trebuia și portugheza. Așa că Ion.
So he came to me one day and said, "Nu Trang, I came to you to speak a bit of Romanian. For what with all these languages, I think I may have forgotten just how to speak my own language."
Că m-am încurcat cu limbile, știți? Nu mai știu, atâtea limbi am învățat, dar nu mai știu niciuna să vorbesc.
După aproximativ 11 luni,
in about 11 months, the time came for me to leave for the United States of America.
Statele Unite. Era în august 88.
It was August 1988, and I made a beeline from Belgrade straight to New York in a Pan Am plane.
Cu un avion al companiei Pan Am, care am plecat direct spre New York.
A trebuit să încep de la zero.
I had to start from zero. I lived in my office, 2 rooms away from my dentist's chair, and slept on a mattress on the floor. All I learned was reinvested in my job. Shall I tell you about my schedule? Well, I leave home at 5:30 in the morning. I get back home at 9 p.m. My wife says, "Come and have a bite." Frankly, I don't even need that. So late. And then I sit and ponder, asking myself, do I have 2 lives or one? Do I get to live a second time? Please believe me, I shall eat like I used to back home. I can tell you now, after almost 20 years, you're in a world where only power and money matters.
Contează numai puterea și banul. Ai ocazia să
You take all opportunities to climb up socially, or else you stay with the humble.
Ești în societatea de jos.
Venind în Bavaria, în perioada aceea erau 3.000 de învățători fără...
At that time in Bavaria, there used to be 3,000 school teachers. And I asked myself, am I going to be the 3,001st? Who knows? Who knows how long I would have to wait for a job? So if I had to wait anyway, why not get a different craft with better prospects?
Am ajuns în Austria la 39 de ani.
I went to Austria when I was 39, and I learned I was too old to practice my job, since I was a cello player. This is my place. Still, I miss my friends. So what is the Western world like? White and cold. You never get to feel at home. Back home, I always could step in at Kostica or Mitița. Here, all you do is work. That's all, just work.
Eu spun că a meritat. Pentru că pasul acesta l-am făcut pentru fiica mea.
I can tell you it was worth the doing. As I did it for my daughter, I could see no future in store for her in Romania.
Văd pentru ea.
I'll never forget him. You can't forget, this is too much. But I can tell you that after the revolution I sort of recovered a bit, seeing other mothers mourn their young.
There's no way to bring him back to life.
I don't trust anyone anymore. We adopted 2 little children. We named the boy Doru and the girl Doruța. They sort of appease our grief.